Well, uncertainty continues to rattle global stock markets due to Donald Trump's wide-ranging trade war. Much of the focus now is on the escalating tariff war between the world's two largest economies, which has no end in sight. Just today, China increased its tariffs on U.S. goods to 125%, and that is in response to Donald Trump's new tariffs that were announced yesterday that boosted duties on Chinese goods to 145%. This back and forth in Trump's overall trade war has caused big swings on stock markets all week. To bring us up to speed on what is happening on the markets right now, we're joined once again by CBC's business reporter Anis Hedari. Anis, we just spoke a little while ago. How's it looking now, friend?
It's very much the same. We're seeing sort of whipsaw on the markets as they open. There's a little bit of green here, mostly red, but even then the reds are not the steep drops that we've seen over the past few days. If we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Index, you can see the up and down there. Starts out a little bit red, goes a little bit green, then goes back to red, smidge of green, back to red again. But we're only talking about drops of a few hundred points here, less than a whole percentage point up or down in either direction. So really, that market is remaining, I would say, relatively flat. Similar story on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Here in Canada, we're seeing that it's a little bit up right now, but while those point values, 151 points, 147 points, that might sound like a lot. We're really only talking about, half of a percentage point, not even an entire percentage point either up or down. So really the markets and the people who run the markets, right? The investors who are choosing where to put their money, the institutions that are run by people who are choosing where to put their money, they don't seem to be panicked about anything right now, but they don't seem super positive about anything either. Really, Wall Street and Bay Street alike are paying attention to global trade at this point. They are looking at the tariffs that were announced by China, I suppose late last night for us, but on Friday morning in that time zone of 125%. That's in response to the United States saying 145% tariffs against China. Really, this is all about a global trade war in both of those countries, even though we're looking at markets everywhere else. But right now, everyone seems to be in I don't know if I want to call it cat-like readiness, but just there's trades happening and everyone's kind of a little bit up, a little bit down, mostly on pause.
Anis, you mentioned the back and forth between China and the United States. I mean, these are very, very high levels of tariff with the world's two biggest economies, and all of us are sort of caught in between of the how this trade war is moving forward. So today, right now, what are you watching for?
So Asian markets have mostly closed due to the time zones, but what we saw today was drops in quite a few of them. Japan took a big dive when it opened today, South Korea as well. Shanghai took some drops, but then closed pretty flat. But what that can tell us is that investors who are moving on Asian markets don't have a lot of optimism about what's to come. And certainly there isn't a lot of optimism, not just in Asia, but in the United States as well, or towards the United States, because we are seeing the US dollar take some drops. And so Canadians who maybe don't think that these markets mean that much to them might look at the Canadian dollar though and go like, hey, well, that's gone up. That's actually a sign of what's happening between Asia and North America, between China and the United States, because the Canadian dollar going up is about the US dollar going down. And that can tell us that international investors no longer feel a lot of optimism about the American economy. And they probably don't feel that optimism because the other giant economy in the world, China, is in a big fight with the United States and vice versa, Natasha.
Okay, CBC's business reporter Anis Hedari in Calgary. Thank you, Anis.
You're welcome.
And as Anis was mentioning, the escalating trade fight between the United States and China made for a mixed Friday on the Asian markets. Hong Kong and Shanghai both closed with this wild week on the upside, but Japan's Nikkei was down 3%. Now it comes after the announcement by China once again of those 125% tariffs on U.S. goods. China's president is also now speaking out, saying nations like his won't be bullied. Journalist Patrick Falk reports from Singapore.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping notably spoke out for the first time about the tariff fight, even as President Trump has goaded China and as both nations have traded insults with one another. He has stayed silent up until now. In a meeting with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, he said that China's development had come about as a result of self-reliance, hard work, and he also added that China would never fear what he described as unjustified suppression. Now, the timing of the announcement announcement about the latest countermeasures was interesting because it came just as markets in this region were closing. Shanghai and Hong Kong notably ended the session higher after reversing earlier losses. Investors are betting that the Chinese government will unleash stimulus to help shore up the economy in the coming days. The new tariffs that are going to be placed on American goods exported to China will take effect on April 12th. In making the announcement, the Tariff Commission also said that it would ignore any future tariff hikes by the Trump administration because it had become a joke. Echoing those sentiments, the Commerce Ministry also said that it had become economically meaningless and added that it had simply become a numbers game at this point. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Singapore.